Good morning, everyone. Well, at least it's morning for me. It's about 6 a.m. I'm doing this voiceover before I have to run off to work. A little bit last minute. This video will post tomorrow, so it's about 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning. I got a little bit behind on this one because I started building with this habitat, and then we had a little bit extra space, so I decided super last minute to add an extra animal. If you guys follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you will have seen what that animal is, and if you make it to the end of the video, you'll see what that animal is as well. But anyway, this is the main enclosure for our giant anteaters. It's one of the first things you see when you walk in to the jungle adventure style zoo that we have going on Sundew Safari Park. It's really just the zoo that was inspired by the South American pack. I started this when that first came out, and the entrance, which is what we're putting in some of the staff facilities in now, is also a video. It's already on the channel, so if you guys want to check that one out, it's already up there. And I did upload that one onto Steam, so if you guys want to work with that, play with that, it's up there for you. You can search Simply.Savannah and find it there. If you guys do play with it, tag me in pictures and on social, Twitter or Instagram. I'd love to see what you do with it, how you change it, the first animal that you would put in the park. That would be awesome. Anyway, so doing the wall for our giant anteaters, it is kind of a sunken down enclosure. I do cut a lot of it out there because it's really tedious and honestly kind of boring to watch. But finished up that side, and you'll see me kind of stop and do other things like edit the terrain, and I'll put in rocks here in a few minutes. I do get kind of bored with repetitive tasks, so I tend to work on them, complete a little bit of it, do something else, come back to it. So like I said, I'm placing the rocks here, and then I'm going to go back to doing the other side and placing that there. But first, I'm going to add the top of that. I'm really bad about, when you have something and you're going to just duplicate it over and over again, is completing that whole piece. So that you can just duplicate it all at once. So it tends to take me a little bit longer just because I'm not that efficient with it. I tend to think about things after they're already built, and I have a really hard time kind of picturing it in my head until I see it. So anyway, I'm just kind of putting on like one of those little guards, I guess you would call it. Yeah, with the bamboo pieces and then the new wood pieces, just kind of something, and I'll tilt them towards the enclosure to prevent animals from climbing out, basically, is what this is. And I'll repeat that all the way around. Excuse me. I do try with the ropes because I was thinking something should go across, but I hate it, so I took it away. I really didn't like how it looked. I will apologize if you guys hear anything running around in the background. I do have dogs and cats, and for whatever reason, when I sit down to record, is their time to jump up and sprint through the house like little maniacs. So if you hear running around, the stairs are right next to me, and the cats are going up and down with their toys because, no time like 6 a.m. to run around like a crazy person. So that is what they are currently doing. Anyway, back to what we are doing. When I first started this enclosure, I had this idea of the shelter being something that the guests walk over. So that's where this bridge and kind of platform idea came from. So you will see that this ends up being the giant anteaters shelter. They can go in there, and that's where their bedding is, and get away from the guests if they don't want to be visible all the time. And originally this enclosure was going to be one enclosure, and then I put the giant anteaters in and checked their space, and they had like more than double the space that they required for the game. So I decided to split it in half, and I actually will go through, I'll change the entrance a little bit, and I'll split this shelter in half down the middle. And I'll put a male-female pair of giant anteaters on one side, on the bigger side, and then a female on the other side. And the idea was just that, if this is a zoo working on conservation, there might be a breeding program, so they need to be able to switch animals from enclosure to enclosure, switch them around, make different pairs, things like that. And that is something that zoos will do quite often, as far as having different areas for the animals to go into. This is another form of enrichment so that they don't get bored, so wanted to play to that as well. Giant anteaters are classified as vulnerable as far as their conservation status goes, but that doesn't mean that, certain zoos might have programs in place to help them. So that was kind of my thinking behind, eventually splitting up the enclosure and having it so that there is two sides, and I do have to play with the entrance a little bit because, as you can see right now, the entrance is in our main entrance and it's just one. So I actually have to pull that out, make a little kind of plaza area so that the keepers can get in. Anyway, putting a roof on there and then trying really hard to just put little details on stuff. I have to just kind of go through and think about what a building would actually look like, because as far as the game is concerned, you can build very simple things and it obviously either works for keeping animals in or having the guests walk somewhere, but trying to think about what an actual facility might look like and put those little details in. So that's what I'm doing there. While we're finishing up building this little shelter part here, did want to let you know I am already working on the next River Rock Zoo habitat. I think we're going to do capuchin monkeys just because those ones, again, are new. And I know the South American Park came out, or I'm sorry, South American Pack came out a little while ago, but because I'm only able to currently do one video a week as of now, it's taken me a little while to kind of implement them and use them. So Giant Anteater being the first one, but then I had done a poll on Twitter and it was actually exactly half and half. Half of everybody wanted me to do this park, a new zoo with the South American Pack, and then half of you guys wanted me to continue with River Rock Zoo. So I'm doing both, which just means it is taking me a little bit longer, but I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Again, River Rock Zoo is the other kind of North American kind of modern style zoo that we're doing. A lot different than this one. So if you want to check that out, that's also on the channel as well. And on any of those, if you guys have any feedback, suggestions, animals you want me to implement, things you want me to change, I'm not really doing this as a Let's Play series. I'm going to kind of keep it mostly speed build, but that doesn't mean that you guys can't give feedback and input. If you guys want a certain animal or need to change some things you think about on an enclosure, just let me know down below and I do read through them all. So on like this particular habitat, it is mostly done. Oh, and this fence, I cut out most of it, but this is the 4th iteration of a fence that I tried. I really could not figure out what I wanted to do, and then I realized that I'd already done a super simple fence for our balconies up there on the entrance and just decided to copy it over to keep it cohesive with the zoo and same kind of theme. And so I actually ended up really liking that. Hope you guys do too, but continue that all the way around actually at some point, and that took me quite a bit of time as well, just because that's another tedious one when you're kind of copying little pieces over and over again, but have to turn them because my paths aren't straight. They're all curved. Anyway, now I've lost my train of thought. Oh, comments and suggestions. So anyways, not really a Let's Play series, but if you guys have suggestions, totally open to that. Now that I'm doing the voiceovers, and again, I hope that it sounds okay. I don't have the best setup, but looking to improve it. But for now, this is what we're working with, so just let me know what you think. And that way I can kind of talk to you guys and we can go through the zoo. And at the end, I'm going to try something different on this video. I hope you guys do like it. As far as when we're all done, I'm going to kind of walk you through and show you the zoo in addition to the cinematic shots. So what I was saying before is this enclosure is pretty much done, but there are always some little details we can add here and there, benches, trash cans, things like that. The one side of the habitat's going to look very blank because it would be where something else was going. I do try to put kind of a border or a separation in the enclosures on all of this, or I'm sorry, on all of the enclosures. But that one side I just kind of left open because I'm not sure what we're going to do over there. Over here in the enclosure, playing with some water because I really wanted to get a little waterfall. It's it's a tropical zoo, and so waterfalls and stuff would be fairly common, I guess. At least I liked one. I wanted to put one in there. So I'm just playing with the glass pieces because that's how I kind of am able to get the water close up to the edge and hide it with rocks eventually and make the waterfall look realistic. You may have seen this technique. There's a bunch of other creators that also use the glass pieces as far as making the waterfalls. I certainly did not come up with this. I forget who I saw it from, but I did see it from another YouTube creator and was like, that's a fantastic idea, because the terrain in this game is a huge pain in the butt as far as it doesn't really go down and get thin. So making something look like a waterfall is quite difficult. And then I do use the waterfall pieces here, but I go back later and actually use the jet pieces. I hate that when you go look at the waterfall from the front, the water kind of disappears. And I know it's there, but you can't see it, and it bothers me. I want it to look like a waterfall. So I go back and I use the jet pieces, and I just duplicate them all side by side, and they have a much better waterfall effect. So anyway, now just kind of going through with terrain stuff. At this point, I thought I was going to be done-ish with the enclosure. Right after this, I do put the animals in so that they can walk around and I can see the size, which is when I decide to split it up into halves. But first, I'm trying to figure out what I would do with the education boards. So I wanted to use the green bamboo pieces because we've used a lot of the yellow bamboo pieces, but I ended up really disliking how this looks, and you'll see in just a minute here, I end up hanging them from the top of the canopy because I just felt like anything big like that or anything secured to the ground is going to skew your view on the giant anteaters, and I really wanted this inside inside canopy area, the deck, balcony, that's what I'm thinking of, to be kind of an open view where you can stand in the middle and kind of see all around. I do hang some plants and put a couple more things in here, but I want it for the most part for it to be kind of an open view for the guests when they come in here. Because it's our first animal, in some of the cinematic shots you might see that it gets fairly crowded inside here, and that's mostly because, one, I used skinnier paths than I think I should have originally, but going back to change them was just going to be a whole nother thing I didn't want to tackle. But because they are basically the only animal, all of the guests that are in the zoo are only going to this area, so it does get pretty packed, but it should kind of spread out as we add more animals. And I like adding lots and lots of plants to basically everything. You can see I'm using the nettles again. They're such an easy, basic looking plant, and I use them quite often in probably areas that I shouldn't. There was a comment on River Rock's entrance zoo, because I used them right outside the entrance where like a little kid could just walk in and accidentally step in them or fall in them or something like that. But I'm just pretending they're grass pieces or something. They're just kind of a generic green look, and they fit really well in small areas. So I do tend to use them a lot, but we'll just pretend that they're not stinging them. They're grass. Anyway, when putting foliage and trees and bushes and stuff in the enclosures, or when I really feel like it comes together, it's actually my favorite part as far as building a habitat. I feel like once you kind of put the plants in, it really starts to look detailed and really come together. So it is my favorite part. I don't think as of yet I've decided to split it into 2 enclosures, because like I said, I did get pretty much done and then realized with all the rocks and everything I put in that it decreased the space for the giant anteaters and they needed more. So like I said, I don't think that I officially decided to split it into 2 enclosures as of yet. But I do pretty soon, I think after I'm done with these trees. After that, I kind of do create some more custom signs. They are really quick and fairly simple, but if you guys really like them, let me know down below. I can certainly put those on Steam because I do know lots of people like building with those custom signs. On the big rectangular ones that you'll see me work with, those do have an education board. Actually, I'm going to build it right now. They do have an education board sunk in. I don't know if I do it in the recording, but I do it afterwards. So the one that I upload on Steam, if you guys want it, should have that education board in it, so guests will actually stop and look at it. This does not stay bright pink. I just put all the pieces into place and then go back and recolor them. And I actually end up changing that kind of maroon color to a tan as well. I felt like it blended in a little bit better. One thing I do wish we had as far as signs and stuff go is smaller signs. I was really smaller and flat signs so that you can hide them, because this is kind of the smallest one that doesn't really have a border that I can kind of sink into the signs. better than some of the others, and it doesn't sit at the top of the sign. So then, you know, the Giant Anteater, where it actually says that in text, can't be up at the top. And I really wish that we had smaller signs with either smaller font or different fonts would be awesome. But anyway, so I do this sign and then I do one more. I'll split the enclosure in half, and then we'll move on to our the other little bonus animal that's in here. But I will leave you with the time lapse, the speed build, and then I will come back at the end to give you guys a little tour. So enjoy that. If you want to skip to the end, I'll put a little thing, should be on the screen about now, sometime-ish, the timestamp on when the speed build is over, so you guys can skip to that. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will be right back. playful real quick. Excuse me. This is the finished zoo, or I'm sorry, finished enclosure. That's one of those custom signs we just passed there, and then going into the little cabana balcony area. You can see that you kind of have a view all around. Hopefully my camera skills are okay. First time again doing the little tour for you guys, so just kind of real slow here so you guys can see what the guests would see, and you know, ignore the tree clipping through the wall, and the maintenance guy kind of clipping through the wall. But here's our giant anteaters. This is our pair, our male-female pair, and I actually didn't realize until I got going with this little tour part that they had a baby, so we'll be able to see a little baby anteater as well. Oh, there he is, kind of running in the back. Not sure if you caught that or not. But yeah, they can come across this little bridge area, see a nice view of the waterfall. Then we kind of go around to what would be your right. We're kind of walking backwards at this point, but to our left, what we're looking at, little coverings. There's lots and lots of shade. Being, you know, a South American zoo, it get pretty hot, and I really like the look of all the giant trees. You see the little babies down there. Mom and dad are with them, and that's their little shelter in there underneath the balcony deck area. Little simple sign. Here's another one of the custom signs here in just a second. I actually placed two of them. If you saw in the speed build, there's one on the other side as well. And then here is our little bonus animal, our Galapagos giant tortoise. So when I was building this, I had this little area over here that I was just going to landscape. But it was a decent sized area, and I thought, well, why don't we just, you know, squeeze in an animal? And that little tortoise, he is sleeping, but he looks like he's not sleeping. He looks like he's dead. Just double check really quick. Nope, he's okay. He's just sleeping very oddly. We'll just move past that. So anyway, squeezed in the little tortoises so that they have something else to look at when they come over here. And then this is a little, another little viewing area that I think is actually really cool, but the guests don't seem to come over here quite as often. But this is where I actually had to end up extending the this side of the enclosure because it was rather small. So I just kind of pushed it out a little bit, kept it flat, and then put this little viewing area over here. And I think it's a really good little viewing area. You can see all the guests over there on the paths that are, you know, because it's our only animal, like I mentioned before, and the paths are a little skinny. They're kind of getting a little congested, but that's okay. I'm sure when we add more animals, it'll kind of spread the crowd out. But anyway, just an overview of what the area looks like. Oh, and there's this little staff area right here that connects to the giant tortoise enclosure. Something super simple. It's just got a keeper hut in there, nothing else besides that. But a little overview of the area. Like I said, lots of trees, lots of shade. You can see that fence I continued all the way around. Added some benches over here, and then give you a look from this side. I guess we can go in the enclosure and go look at the animals. There'll be some cinematic shots already, so you will have gotten a look at them, but just so we can see them. I really like the animations on these guys. I think they're really cute, and their claws are very interesting. And their pattern's also really cool as well. We'll go take a look at the family, the baby. I think that what's really cool is in real life, in the wild, the little babies would hang on to the backs of their moms, and that stripe that you see on their legs helps them blend in, because it kind of is just a continuation of the mom's stripe on their shoulder. And I think that's rather cool. But yeah, anyway, that is the whole enclosure. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe, like if you can, and I will see you next time. Bye!